Go on.
So when we are analyzing DNS logs and we are seeing that there is some benefits to going into some like the scientists or from like malicious domain. But
Mhm.
when we let analyze the HTTP request, we are not seeing any HTTP request that malicious domain. So can I ignore that that DNS investigation that we did because we are not seeing any. So can that happen? Like we are not seeing any HTTP get request to that domain.
Okay,
Maybe
so okay,
maybe
so what
sometimes local or something.
okay, so what I understand from your question is that just let me know if I captured that correctly, because there is certain issues with the with the voice actually over here. I'm not getting that thing clear, but what I understood is what you mean to say is that you see a DNS query to a specific domain, but but you don't see any kind of HTTP request going forward for that one. So you exclude those things from analysis? Is that right?
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay, so thing is that again it will depend. Like if you recall one of the incident that I shared with you, where there was a DNS query to the google.com, if you look at, but then there was no HTTP request to that google.com, right? So it will depend actually. And if you recall, one of the things which I was mentioning is that the malware was actually trying to kind of fetch the web page of google.com. The malware was trying to fetch the web page of google.com just to kind of figure out if it is connected to internet or not. Okay, so it will depend upon scenario. Okay, so in that case, there was no request to google.com, even though there was a DNS packet. There was no request to google.com webpage. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, it actually make it more malicious. That why, like, let's say there's a DNS request, but why then there is no, like, let's say there's no fetching of the page. Okay, so that means that there is some kind of software that is running which has a good control over like what kind of thing that it is doing. So let's say like in normal sense, what will happen if I visit a website from a browser? Okay, definitely the DNS packets and the HTTP packet will be seen in the PCAP file, and the user will not have a control over that. If a normal user is reading the website, normally both this packet will go, and user will not have a control that okay, the DNS query is done, stop, because it will be in nanoseconds. Okay, but if you are seeing okay, DNS query is being made, HTTP packets is not being made, so you know that there is some kind of software running in the in the system which has a good control over the packets that are being transferred. So let's say there's a DNS. So let's say one of the thing can be that there's a malware in the system which is actually trying to expel the data out, expel the data out using this technique. So one of the technique is called as DNS tunneling technique. And what it does is that using this DNS tunneling, so what I will do is that I have one lab uh, which I'll be kind of sharing that with you guys, and I will also share the script where I will kind of showcase you guys ICMP tunneling, okay, which means that using ICMP how to expel any kind of packets or files, but in a similar way there is DNS tunneling, okay. So let's say there is some kind of DNS request, but you don't see any kind of information. You need to kind of analyze its packet in a much more detail and figure out okay what kind of data or what kind of domain is kind of querying. So there are a lot of things that you need to analyze, and it will not be just one single point that you need to make that okay you just follow the rule book and that's done. That rule book will actually change based on scenario by scenario. Okay, so in that kind of case where like let's say you are seeing a DNS tunneling attack, you need to kind of what you say you need to kind of figure out okay what's happening in the DNS packet, what kind of data is going out. So there's a lot of things that you need to kind of figure out over there. So I hope this answers this your question, right? Is there any other clarification?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, 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 fine. So we have kind of looked at kind of an overall basis, like what kind of how to kind of get answer to that. And this actually, I hope this was quite interesting, and this will kind of help you in kind of what do you say. We have looked at the HTTP packets, so that's why the reason because here the packets that are basically HTTP and it's not HTTPS. So that's the reason I picked this lab because now you have already covered HTTP and you have also covered the DNS part. Okay, so I hope this would also kind of let's say solidify your understanding for the domain names for the HTTP request and all. And also extra, you now guys now know what to look at when you are seeing the DHCP packet, what all information are there, like the host name, the IP addresses, and DNS server details and all. You can kind of get all those from the DHCP packets. So I hope this was kind of a little bit interesting. I will say is that I'll be sharing few more labs going forward, but I will only do that once I cover all those topics. So I will not give you a lab where you need to kind of, let's say, you need to figure out HTTPS thing and you have not kind of figured out. So DHCP was a little bit easier, so that's why I give that. So now, thing is that DHCP is done, and DNS, like how things are seen in the packets and how to kind of utilize that for kind of doing any kind of analysis. Okay. So I hope this makes sense much now, and you guys can just work on this lab and maybe also try to kind of address this lab if you get more time via doing. I understand like it was a weekdays, so definitely you guys might be busy in your office work. So definitely weekend if you get more time. So definitely what you do is that maybe try to implement some kind of a script and try to get answers to these all things. Okay, by a scripting way. So let's say you have a script which you just give the pickup file, and that pickup file answers all of this 8% for you, and you don't have to do any single work over there. Okay, so maybe you can try all those things, and you have the basic script with you. You can just modify that and figure that out. Okay, so that's all for this lab part, guys. And now I will kind of move on to the next topic. And what I will do is that I will just quickly take a 2 minute break. I'll just quickly grab some water, and then I will quickly start with the HTTP response part. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you so much, and again, thank you for kind of saying the response. It's really nice work over here. So yeah, just give me 2 minutes. Okay, guys, now let's resume our discussion. And the next topic that I will be kind of picking out is explaining you the HTTP response code. And this response code will be applicable for both HTTPS and HTTP. And this is one of the most important thing that we need to kind of understand about. Okay, so let me go to the agenda. So our agenda was HTTP response code. So let me just quickly go to that quickly. Okay, so just let me quickly go to my notes and let's figure out what all things I plan to kind of discuss with you guys. So. Mhm, 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 mhm. Okay, so the first thing that so now again like it will little bit theory first, and then we'll kind of look at some of the thing in the lab part. Okay, so the first thing is definitely like there will be like different kind of HTTP response code over there. And if I go to this tool, if you go to the next, and if you see, if I go to the verb suite tool, okay,